washing machine, fridge, smart TV, air conditioner, kitchen items, amadi makal khudingmakki home appliances kidamak hoina waningai leite. Kaisampat Kunchen Hazari Lekai Delayba, Mezo of Impalna, Ahongo Mamalda, item khudingmakki up to 50% discount offer pizza. Wedding set unalong matamdasu special over discount kayasu anjari. Interest amakta yaudena 0% EMI loan gi kudong sabasu anjari. Kudong sabasi mangan biraganu ngasi maklengsin biragu Mezo of Impal, Kaisampat Kunchen Hazari Lekai.
Good evening viewers, you're watching Open Debate, and today being Monday, we will have this discussion, Open Debate in English, as Elite TV has already started discussion exclusively in English every Monday. Dear viewers, on April 8, the 37th meeting of Parliamentary Official Language Committee has adopted that Hindi should be made compulsory in all the 8 northeastern states up to 10th class. And also the Home Minister Amit Shah mentioned that Hindi should be given importance, and Hindi should be the language in communication by the citizens from different states. He also mentioned that 22,000 Hindi teachers are being recruited for the step being announced by the government, and also yes, 9 tribal communities have changed their dialect script to Devanagari, which is Hindi script in short. And he also mentioned that time has now come to make the official language an important issue, an important part of the unity of the country. Now, the question is, opposition leaders, including Congress and opposition parties, reacted sharply, calling it or terming it as an imposition of Hindi, terming it as cultural terrorism, terming it an attempt to uproot the identity of the indigenous people of the Northeast in particular. Now, in Manipur as well, Congress party has sharply reacted against a move announced by the Home Minister. Also, the students' union, 6 students' unions have also reacted sharply and termed it as impossible, not acceptable. And many other organizations, including Melal, have also reacted against the announcement made by the Union Home Minister Amit Shah. So today we are discussing our language, our dialect is under threat or not. That's the question that we are asking tonight on Open Debate, and joining us for the discussion today is social scientist Dhanabir Laishram. Welcome on the show, Tamo. We also have a corporate lawyer and Supreme Court advocate Ngangom Junior Luwang. Welcome to the show, Tamo Junior. And also we will be joined by the Director of Human Rights Alert, Tamo Babloo Loitongbam, in a while. Now, the first question that I want to raise is to Tamo Dhanabir Laishram. How do you actually perceive this move by the Union government to impose Hindi, especially to all the 8 northeast states of northeastern state, where compulsory is being made to learn Hindi up to class 10 standard? How do you react? What is your perception in the move announced by the Union government?
Okay, Kishorchandra, education is the process of teaching and learning. It means learning and teaching process, in which language is very important, through which we can collect information, can have ideas, even it can make perception. All this information, then ideas, perception, could be turned as a very good knowledge, and the accumulation of that knowledge can make development of the personality and the competency. This is a brief objective of education. But now the question is the language that is taking part in the education. You see, we are having such knowledge. With the help of that, we can have this interpretation, observation, recommendation. That means it should make also good self-decision making. It is very much important for each of the individual. But now the language is the problem. The language is the problem in the sense that, you know, Manipuri people, I think it should be the Manipuri language should be sandwiched in between English and the Hindi. You see why I'm telling this in the sense that, see, you know, the first thing is that, you see, this is a very, very hidden political agenda of this chairman, that is President Amit Shah, of parliamentary, this official language committee decision. The report, 11th report given to the president. See, you know, the perception and the concept of all this nation building process. In the whole nation building process, their component is common religion, common culture, common language, and this common political aspiration. Without the importance of the value sharing, you know, we are talking about these four important components. Union government also very much heading on this area. That is why they want to have this one language, one religion, and one nation. I think, you know, this is very much related with imposition of this Hindi language to study in the class 10 and class 9. You see, you know, our students, they are studying Hindi up to class 8.
Yes.
Grammar and the literature. I think enough is enough. We also accept this, and we didn't make any argument against this, you know. But now, imposition of this Hindi teaching in this Hindi learning in this class 9 and 10, this is really forced assimilation.
Okay.
Forced assimilation, just like the forced assimilation. We are talking about this imposition, you know, that is because of, you know, you see, India is federal.
Okay.
This is beyond the federal structure. India is federal. Yes, our federal is not USA federal, but it is Canadian model, you know. In this Canadian model, we have three important lists: union list, state list, and concurrent list. All the powers of the center confined to this union list, and the state power confined to this state list. But concurrent, that is the power sharing in between center and state.
Yes.
Education is in this concurrent list.
Okay, okay.
Why the government of India, that means this parliamentary committee, they don't take, you know, any this comment from the each of the leaders of the 8 states of Northeast. This is the one important question, you know, raised by the people today. Another is, it is against the democracy.
Okay.
Why we are telling about this is against the democracy means, you know, without consulting each of them, and education is very important, you know. With this, our youngsters can develop their personality. But now, you know, imposition of this Hindi to study in the class 9 and 10, you know, without any consent of the people and without any talking with the some of the important
stakeholders,
leaders,
yes,
and yeah, intellectuals of the region, you know, why they have given such a very hard direction to us. That means this is not democratic at all.
Okay.
Then the third point is, you know, I think it should be unworthy to the class 9 and 10 students, because, you know, they have studied literature, English, or our mother language, Manipuri, science, social science, maths, and computer, and home science. These are optional. You see, you know, even these subjects they are taking today, that is also very much burdensome, you know.
Okay.
Above these, to study Hindi language, you know, both literature and the grammar, that is being studied in the up to class 8, you know, it should be giving more class to them up to class 10. You know. I think they are this planning, you know, it should be increasing in this degree course and the MA course, in spite of having their optional paper in BA and the MA. So the question of imposition is coming up because of that. And another point is that this is very important, you know.
Okay.
It is well known that for India we have 1,650 languages.
Okay.
You know, India is multi-plural society. Out of these, 196 languages supposed to be extinct, and among them, IT language from Northeast India, it seems to be extinct also.
Okay.
But the people of Northeast, they are very much at stake to protect their identity, to protect their language, you know. So it is 100% antagonized the aspiration of the peoples of Northeast. What was happening in case of the UNESCO's report in 2009, you know, globally now we have 7,111 languages, you know. Out of that, there is 40% of the languages supposed to be extinct, you know.
Okay.
And that means the extinction of the language means, you know, that is also very much related with the this identity crisis of the
Exactly.
each of the people.
Well,
Yeah,
very
please,
well
please.
said, because Dhanabir has already mentioned that it's a kind of a forced assimilation of the people of Northeast in particular, or people of non-Hindi speaking states. And the other point is, it is against the ethics or the ethos of democracy. That's the second point Dhanabir mentioned. And the other point is, of course, it is going to burden the already burdened students in learning Hindi languages in class 9 and 10 is going to add some more burden to the students. It's going to be a very difficult task for the students to go through such phase. Now, let me come to Tamu Junior. Well, yes, it is already announced. Whether the steps have been implemented or not is something that we have to see from now. But my question is, what is the necessity, what is the urgency of announcing such a step, as Tamu Dhanabir has already mentioned, without consulting the states or without consulting the stakeholder concerned? What is the urgency of the union government of announcing such a step on April 8 by the union minister?
Can you hear me, Kishorchandra?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think that there seems to be a fundamental misunderstanding of what has actually transpired. If you listen to Amit Saha and his announcement and examine his observation carefully or between the lines, he made it very, very clear that the 8 states from Northeast had given consent to introduction of Hindi as a compulsory subject till 10th.
Yeah.
Now the question is, since consent had been reportedly taken, or must have been taken, because the Home Minister of a country as large as India would not make an announcement unless until there was actual consent. So consent was taken. To that extent, some semblance of democratic exercise seems to have been completed or processed accordingly. Now, to that extent, it could be inaccurate or arguably inaccurate to describe it as a imposition.
Okay.
So, if we have to blame somebody, then possibly our local leaders, the political dispensation, also needs to be asked a similar question as to whether they have given this
consent or not. Yes.
Or not. Possibly, factually it's correct. Second part is that Amit Shah's observation was largely confined to the Northeast. Now, why this Hindi as a compulsory subject till 10th only in the Northeast?
Yes, not in the certain state. Yes.
Now, there are 3 aspects to be examined in this connection. First, he said that the 8 states of the Northeast have given consent to introduction of Hindi at the 9th and the 10th standard as a compulsory subject, and hence, to that extent, it will be wrong to say that it was an imposition. One.
Okay.
Second, he also went to the extent of saying that around 22 Hindi teachers have been recruited in Northeast.
22,000.
The process is on. 22,000. Third, 9 tribes of the Northeast also have agreed to write their dialects in Hindi in Devanagari script.
Yes.
So this is basically a Northeast focus observation, the official language committee. That's one part of it. Now, the other aspect we have to see is that why not a South? Why not Tamil Nadu? Why not the other states, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh? Possibly that the government must have done or at least must have attempted to do a similar exercise vis-a-vis the southern states. And the southern states have a history of anti-Hindi movement right from 1936, 1937. Creation of Andhra Pradesh in 1953. Then subsequently leading to states reorganization like this and that. So that surely or presumably the southern states must have said no to it. Now the question to be asked is why we?
Yes.
Why did that our leaders in
Yes.
8 states have given consent to such a step? One. Second, let us also remember that except for one state and Northeast, Hindi is not an official language in any of the rest 7 states. The only exception is Mizoram. Mizoram has Hindi as an official language, apart from Mizo and I think English. In English, Manipur has got obviously Manipuri. Now, I really don't understand what transpired behind the scene. Maybe that the present dispensation political party has started to have a foothold in the Northeast. So basically, it seems to be a consequence of what we have actually voted for. So to that extent, there was a democratic process undergone, and then we have to choose who to blame, who not to blame. Now, the second aspect, Kishorchandra, is this. Now, there are 2 theories or 2 seemingly basic foundations of India as a country. The first one is one country, one language.
Yes.
Amit Shah has apparently invoked
Yes.
to come up with those observations or announcement, whatever you might like to call it. Now, the second observation is unity in diversity. So if you try to analyze his observation in the light of these 2 basic fundamental principles of India as a democratic country, arguably there is some conflict around that. Now, that also leads to another question. Today it is one country, one language. What if tomorrow it is one culture, stroke religion, and one country? So that's something we have to be a little careful because we are a linguistic minority, we are a cultural minority, we are a religious minority.
Exactly.
Obviously, when we vote, the northeastern guys, when we vote, we generally go by money politics, muscle politics. So that's how we have voted. But we have to respect our elected members because we are the ones who have elected them. And slowly BJP is having a foothold in the northeast. Now the worrisome part is why only us? Why not the southern states? And then I have given the explanation to the extent. Now another aspect is that I would like to approach this subject from 2 perspectives. I mean, from the language point of view. One is the language of necessity. One. Second is language which needs to be protected.
Yes.
Now let's examine these three languages in the context of what I have just said. Now, English definitely is a language of necessity. And I think as per the latest report, it is overtaken Mandarin as the most spoken language in the world. It is not only a native communication language, it also is a business language where you, with this language, you allow yourself to be open to a lot of opportunities, corporate world, international job market, whatever. That's why we see a lot of Indians, heading Microsoft, Twitter, all this, So that's how we have developed ourselves as a country, not much by way of promoting Hindi, but by way of promoting ourselves as English speakers, because we are very strong in service sector, and that's how we have managed to have our people in this some of the best Fortune 500 companies. Now, that definitely shows that English is a language of necessity. Second. Now, out of these 3 languages, now what is a language which needs protection? A language spoken by around 11 lakhs or maybe around 20 lakhs max. That's Manipuri, and even we have a lot of dialects spoken by as Dhanabir also has said, that the UNICEF report of 2019 also has given a list of languages which are on the verge of extinction, not exactly extinction today, but on the verge of extinction. Now, so that definitely puts Manipuri as a language which needs to be protected from extinction. Then where does Hindi figures? Let's prioritize our sense of importance vis-a-vis these three languages. Hindi is official language in only 10 states in India. 10 states.
Correct.
But it is the third largest, third largest spoken language in the world. It's English, Mandarin, and Hindi now. But who are those speakers? The speakers are basically in mainland India, the so-called quote-unquote the cow belt, say UP, Bihar, and Madhya Pradesh, and some bit of Maharashtra, this and that. So the Orissa, this and that. That's how it works. Now, so we do need English. Yes, we are continuing English, and Amit Shah has not said anything against English. That's one good part of it. Second is that we have status quo vis-a-vis Manipuri, because Manipuri continues to be the compulsory subject, till 10th. Or I think for many of us, obviously, our brothers in the hills, they have an alternative option, I suppose, some major Indian language or whatever. That's my understanding. Now, that's my understanding. Now, so then Hindi, now they are trying to make it compulsory till 10th. According to me, the first question that comes to me is, why do we want our young students to struggle with three languages?
Yes.
Okay, he has to learn Manipuri, he has to learn English, and he has to learn Hindi. Pardon me, I could be wrong in saying that the language it's basically a means of communication, but language as such it doesn't tantamount to knowledge. Because I could be very good in Manipuri or Hindi or English, so that does not mean that my English, my knowledge is proportionally rich. So that part of it we should dispense with. The idea should be to impart the right kind of knowledge in the mother tongue of the students. If you also see the global context to the issue, we talk about Belgium, we talk about China, we talk about Hong Kong is an exception. We talk about Singapore, we talk about Canada, we talk about other France is a little bit of an exception. Now the basic principle which they adopt is a two language policy. The first language in the elementary and the primary education, all of these countries, the so-called developed countries, they ensure that education is given in one's mother tongue.
Yes.
That's one part of it. And they try not to pull in another, as far as possible, another one. But at the most, maybe it is Dutch or maybe German or maybe it is French. That's how they try to develop their students. Now in India, what is happening is that we have, of course, we do encourage. We do have. There is a requirement under Schedule 17 also. I think Chapter 4, 350A, I suppose, which says that education in our mother tongue, the indigenous language, should be imparted, and that's how our education policy has always been framed, keeping this aspect into our mind. Okay. So but we do have this three language policy, contrary to the general global trend of having only two language policy. We do have the mother tongue. For Hindi speaking states, it is Hindi, it's English, and then they have the option of opting for one of the major Indian languages. Okay. For the non-Hindi speaking states like the South and the Northeast, it's the mother tongue, the English, and then Hindi. And Hindi till now was till 8, and now they are trying to make it till 10th. Whether it actually happens or not, then your guess is as good as mine. Okay. So that's another part of it. Then in my first round, second round, I'll cover.
Yes. We have also joined by Babloo Loitongbam, the Director of Human Rights Alerts. Now, so let me straight away go to Babloo for the next question. We have been discussing our dialects or languages under threat with the new announcement, with the announcement made by the Union Minister recently. that Hindi will be made compulsory for all the 8 states to learn up till class 10th. Now, my question is, do you think this is an attempt to convert the northeastern state into Hindi-speaking region? Because the government in the center has always talked about one nation, one language. So, do you think this is an attempt to convert the non-Hindi-speaking region of northeast to convert into Hindi-speaking regions and then this is a step to assimilate, as the Dhanabir has also mentioned, that it's a kind of a forced assimilation of our culture, of our identity, of our languages. What do you think? What do you say about it?
Casey, I don't see this as an isolated act of language alone. This is a very well calibrated ideological move. This is just happens to be one manifestation of that. The idea that is governing the present ruling elite is clearly a Hindutva ideology, where they want to convert the whole India as one people speaking one language, following one religion, and everybody should be fitting into a frame that is in the imagination of this ruling elite. There were many experiments in the world who have tried to do this, but it usually came up with very disastrous consequences. So we see this present imposition of Hindi up to class 10 as one such manifestation. It is very unfortunate that, as Junior have also pointed out, perhaps our leaders have conceded to this announcement by the Honorable Home Minister, but we also need to examine further whether our so-called representative heading our governments in our respective states are genuinely representing the voice of these people, are able to articulate the concerns of the people of the region in honesty, or are they all being in some way parroting whatever the leaders in Delhi wants them to say? Is also a very serious concern, because we know the federal polity in Northeast is definitely not what is envisaged in a federal polity. I think Dhanabir Laishram also alluded to that point quite clearly. This is federal only in form, but in reality, the relationship that our leaders in our state have with the leadership in Delhi is not of an equal partner, which should be there in a genuinely democratic setup, but it is like a patron-client relationship. I don't have to explain further. We have just seen how Chief Ministership was selected in Manipur after having won 32 seats in the Assembly Constituent in a recently concluded Assembly election. We have seen how everybody was rushing to Delhi to choose who is going to be the Chief Minister. I think this is a very clear illustration that the power is concentrated in Delhi, and so whatever the Union Home Minister himself wants to say, he doesn't have to say it. It can be said through the Chief Ministers, who are they're literally nominated by them. So it doesn't really make sense. But honestly, this language politics is a highly sensitive issue in India. Anybody who has a sense of the modern political history of the Union knows how sensitive it is, particularly with South India, where there is some semblance of federal structure there. You try and impose this Hindi in Tamil Nadu, you will see the consequences. Where Tamil Nadu still retains, in the present political formation, the ability to assert their rights and identity within the constitutional framework. Unfortunately, in the case of Northeast, the present constitutional framework doesn't give our leadership the political space to be able to articulate their concerns and voices. And that is one reason why, in a way, alternative political formations have come up in this region and are trying to articulate the core interests which are not addressed by the our leadership. But coming back to the language question, I mean, I am for learning as many language as you can. Honestly, it's always good to know more language, but because that also expands your worldview. I mean, I don't hate Hindi, but to be very honest, we also studied Hindi till class 8. But I didn't learn Hindi by studying
books in the classes,
in class by hearting a few lines and sentences and prose and cramming it and writing in it for the exams. I learned Hindi when I went to Delhi and started studying, and it becomes functionally important for me to survive. For me to be able to move around Delhi, you have to learn Hindi. I learned more Hindi by singing Hindi film songs than by reading books that are prescribed to us in our classroom. So, I mean, language, I mean, I'm totally for learning more than one language, because you will be exposed to more cultures and more ideas, more worldviews, more knowledge systems, but it cannot be imposed. If you impose it, it will actually have the opposite effect. People will feel burdened, and as Dhanabir have also pointed out correctly, I mean, class 9, 10 is a career formation stage where people have to study new concepts in science, new concepts in economics, new concepts in, I mean, it's a little burdened, or you know how much children are burdened now with tuitions and pressure from the parents to get into engineering, to get into medical, to prepare for their future. So to burden them again with Hindi is, I think, unnecessary. But if you plan things properly, people will learn Hindi if they are given a free choice. I mean, nobody imposed anybody to learn English, but everybody wants to learn English because it is what you call the soft power of the English civilization. That nobody imposes you anything, but I mean, you look at the children growing up in Manipur today. They can speak a few words of Korea. But did Koreans ever try to impose anything? I think rather than imposing Hindi, Chota Bhim has actually taught more Hindi to our growing up children than all the textbooks put together. I think I wish our leadership, both at Delhi as well as Manipur, understand that after all, people learn when their mind is open and free. If you impose them, it will be an identity threat to them, and it will have exactly the opposite reaction. Rather than learning that language by exploring it, they will close their mind and feel that you are being dragged into a cultural imperialism. People say that we have liberated ourselves from the British colonialism. Now we are undergoing a phase which many people describe as Gujarati colonialism. I mean, India is controlled by this few Gujarati, and they want to impose all their values and worldviews on the rest of the country. And I think this will have exactly the opposite reaction. We have seen how Students' Union have started protesting against this imposition. I think Mizoram, Nagaland, it will be very, very hard to push down into their throat this idea of learning Hindi. So it is sorry, the electric is also gone. Maybe there are people who doesn't want my comments to be heard, but anyway, this is our life.
I don't think so. But yes, it was really a very good point when we talk about manifestation of the ideology of the current or present regime that we have in the center and in the state. Now, I just want to ask to Dhanabir Laishram, you mentioned about the hidden agenda. And you also mentioned about the forced assimilation. We are now talking about the good side of learning languages and also the ill effect of imposing the second language or probably the third language for us to people from the Northeast. Now, if at all this is implemented, now people are reacting, or leaders, opposition leaders and organizations are reacting as if this is an imposition, this is an attempt to dilute the linguistic identity of the indigenes of the Northeast. What is the threat? What is the problem if we go ahead and learn Hindi as one of our languages? What is going to happen, or how forced assimilation is going to happen, and what will be the ill effect? What will be the fallout if at all we accept this? Okay, Dhanabir, I think you are in mute. If you can please unmute. Yeah.
Yeah. Kisi, you see, this language is very important in the sense that, it helps communication each other. Because of that, some of the senior students, they learn more languages, mainly the very much developed and the popular country. In the early days, we learned Germany, and then France, then Japanese, but today Chinese. This is not only some countries, maximum countries are opening their eyes to China to learn their language and others. Now my point is that, see the Manipur, our Manipuri language, just like the reaction from the Karnataka's Minister of South.
Yeah.
These top 22 scheduled language, our Manipuri, that is also included. And even now in India we have 6 plus languages. But even our those people who works for the promotion of the language, they claim that our Manipuri should also be classic language, because we have these epics. In India we have Mahabharata, Ramayana, like that we have this Moirang Parva, means this is the 7 inclinations of this story of the Moirang. It's very interesting. All the these components of the epics, that is included here. But in the Western country, they have only this Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained. It's very unique, That means our Manipuri language is very much rich, in every space of life. But now the question is, why this national education policy, they have given up to class 5, regional language should be taught, when we see the maths examination, maths paper, there's the examination paper of the maths for metric also, and 12 class also. Maximum number of the students are failing. They can't get this pass mark in maths, Maximum are failing. But now the question is why, within very few decades, this maths, that is taught by the teachers in English. And my point is that, these local language, this regional language is very much important for teaching and the learning process. Because whenever one who talk about the English and who knows the English, but he does not know like the British.
Okay, yes,
and those
definitely.
people who knows the Hindi, we can't have the knowledge just like the other mainland India, say around about 10 states in India.
In the country, yes.
Hindi, and their all these ideas and knowledge of this Hindi. That means, our own language is to be very much important to study in any space of this education and others, any areas of it. But now, as I said, this Manipuri is, it should be the sandwich in between Hindi and the English. See, today what is happening? Our youngsters, our small kids, they don't understand nomising. If we say Sunday, they know. And if we say 10, this patara, they don't understand this. If you say 10 rupees, they understand this. That is why, people are at stake to promote and to protect the language. To promote and to protect the language means it's very much related with the identity also.
Okay.
See, in case of Manipur, whatever the names of the hills, whatever the names of river, And what even the flowers also, even the flowers also, it always associated a very good stories of our recent one, this ancient one. But it is not happening in any part of the world. So, for instance, in our Chairaupa, there is a New Year's. We try to make buns, this Kombirei lady and the Kusumlei, This Kusumlei, Kum Suba Lei, that means symbol of maturity of the years. And the Kumpire means New Year is coming. And this all in the news should link by this lady, making relationship with this a very small power at the middle of that, That means, my point is that, whatever here for us, whether it may be the hills, rivers, tree, flowers, everything, associated with a very good stories, But now, what about our indigenous property and the indigenous knowledge? But today, most of the advanced countries, they are talking about to research, reinvent all this indigenous knowledge and indigenous property. But today, because of this studying, colonial interpretation that's followed by these British, we are following nearly 200 years, We discarded everything. We discarded everything means it's going to be doomsday of our
It is going to be a doomsday for the people of the Northeast in general and people of Manipur in particular if this imposition is implemented. That's the point Dhanabir Laishram is pointing. Now my next question is to Tamo Junior. You mentioned about the consent probably might have given by the government, the state government, or may not be. If at all, the move was consented by the government. Do you think the state government have made a blunder without consulting the stakeholder, without consulting the intellectual of the state? If at all the state government has consented to allow to learn Hindi for compulsory up to class 10, do you think the government have made a blunder?
Well, Kishorchandra, it was just an announcement. The announcement has to get translated into some form of written notification or gazetted in the official gazette or whatever. That has not happened. Okay, the first presumption is that yes, the government consent must have been taken. That's my presumption. Second, even if the government presumption was government consent was taken, then there's still time for the government to introspect and then have a round of discussion with intellectuals and people around, and have a very you can say good discussion on what are the pros and cons of having Hindi till the 10th class as a compulsory subject. So that I think there's still a lot of time for the government to introspect. They can, if you want to withdraw its consent, I suppose nothing prevents the government from doing it. They can actually do so. The larger context is for people like you and me to have an understanding of what is transparent, what is transpiring. Now, coming to the so-called quote-unquote cultural imperialism imposition, I would not like to go to that extent because this is an issue of our own making. We all know what the larger political dispensation is, what is subtext and the groups which are beneath to support it at the ground level. It's not that they have come with the agenda which is different from what they are doing right now. We know it that this is the agenda which they have. We accepted it. We accepted it, and I presume that the moment you cast a vote in favor of one political party, the presumption is that you have accepted the party not only as a party but also has accepted the philosophy and the political manifesto it has before it. So that's something we should think about. So that's why I keep on saying that the guys, the Manipuri guys or the guys in Northeast, we get carried away by a lot of irrelevant considerations, which most of the time assume the form of muscle power and money power. Not that the present dispensation has won election only on the basis of that, but that's one indication of what is going in the Northeast in general. Now, let's see what under Article 345, which is in the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution, the state government can very well decide its own curriculum of the government.
Very good. Yes.
It's official thing. So if the under this article, my understanding is that whatever Amit Shah has announced, the state government has to get it translated into action by making some kind of a policy decision under Article 345. That hasn't happened. I'm sure that the government also must be having some kind of a.
So, are you saying that the state government has the power to not accept the sort of the announcement made by the union government?
Well, it was an announcement. I said, as I said, the first thing it was an announcement. So the government can always have a introspection and then discuss with the Home Minister. This is not exactly what we wanted. Of course, we have given consent to you, but there's a backlash from our civil societies.
Yes.
So because of the backlash, let's withdraw it. Now the problem is this: the problem the so-called CEOs. I also said so in our last discussion. They seem to be a little short-sighted. They don't see the larger picture of what's going on. This is a situation. This is a fit case for our CSOs and the civil society members to have an appointment with who matters, like with whoever who matters in the government. Put their points across and then take things to a different direction. So that's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes. This is getting complicated even for me to try and understand the necessity, to try and understand the backlashes that we have in our state and other part of the northeastern. Now, I just want to come to Babloo once again. Now, do you think the onus, the responsibility is on the shoulder of the state government to take a stand regarding this issue? And if so, how soon they should start, consulting the stakeholder concerned?
I think it is the duty of the government, particularly the state government, to consult the stakeholders. They are the ones who are paid a salary out of the public money to do exactly that. CSOs are not paid from the public exchequer to do work and go and seek appointment with the VIPs. It is the VIPs who are paid to do this as a public servant. And CSO react when they make blunders. And I think this is one blunder that they have made. And it is the duty of the so-called civil servant, people who are serving the people's, holding the people's mandate. It is their bounden duty to ensure that the rights and interests of the people who have voted them to power are respected and honored. It is not the role of the civil society to go and with a begging bowl to say, please change this. It's their business. They are being paid from public exchequer to do exactly that. So I think the burden is definitely with the government.
With the state
government.
On
the second point the state government at this point in time, because we are now already assuming on the basis of the learned opinion that Junior have expressed that the Home Minister would not have made this announcement without the consent of the state. But I'm not too sure the way in which the affair of this country is being run today. I don't think there is such consultation happening in all the levels of the government, right from the top to the bottom.
Okay.
On the second point of having a larger vision, a nation-building vision, if all the Hindi speakers in the country are willing to learn one Northeast language from the Tibeto-Burman or the Austro-Asiatic group of family, then yes, I would say you guys also go and learn a language from the Indo-Aryan family, whether it is Hindi, Marathi, or for that matter, even a Dravidian language. If we have to build a nation, the responsibility has to be shared. We cannot set away our identity and jump into the shoes of Indo-Aryan people. We are Tibeto-Burman, and if India is an inclusive country that respects differences and identities, then it should be incumbent on all the Indo-Aryan speaking people to also learn a Tibeto-Burman or an a Dravidian or an Austro-Asiatic language, so that you actually integrate India into a larger whole on the basis of equality. But it cannot be that your language are being pushed aside, your own mother tongues are being pushed aside, and you give more and more premium to a language which is of a totally different family, even not even from your own language family. So that is not democratic. That is definitely cultural imperialism. I would again repeat it. I have a degree in anthropology from Delhi University, and I know what is cultural relativism. I know what is UNESCO's declaration on race and ethnicity. And on the basis of that, I'm saying that this is cultural imperialism, because you are prioritizing a language of a dominant community within the state structure on the less dominant community, and this is definitely against the principles that is envisioned in the United Nations Declaration on Rights of Indigenous People. There has to be a partnership. We will learn. We would like to learn Hindi, of course. I learn Hindi. I sing Hindi film songs. I love, ghazals, Hindi ghazals. But that doesn't mean that somebody can say, you have to learn this language, otherwise you will face consequences. That is not on.
Yes,
I would
making it compulsory is something that we are not willing to hear.
If you want national integration and not false assimilation, all Hindi speakers in this country should also learn at least one Dravidian or Indo-Aryan or Tibeto-Burman. I won't even say fix on Tibeto-Burman, but it is important. If we want to build a democratic India, then the burden has to be shared. It cannot be you forget your culture and you come and join this culture. That is not national integration. That is imposition of culture. And that is unacceptable to me.
That is what exactly I wanted to ask to Dhanabir Laishram, because the Union Minister Amit Shah talked about the importance of official language as a part of uniting the country. Do you think by imposing or by asking 8 states of Northeast to learn Hindi up to class 10, it is uniting the country, or rather is it dividing the country? What do you say?
KC, these people of Northeast belongs to this Mongoloid. We have different race in comparison with the mainland India. That is why our culture, our custom, tradition, language, everything should be different from mainland India. But now, in order to have this common culture, common religion, if the imposition is going on, it is very sentimental. Sentimental in the sense that people of this region, they are also very much launching very good numbers of reaction. Even these we have armed opposition group. That is why Babloo's opinion, I also accept this. Accept this in the sense that for having integration of India, they should learn this Tibeto-Burman language instead of imposition of the Hindi.
Yes, respect the diversity, yes.
Yes, as I said, this is outdated concept of this nationalism and the nation. But now, for this nation, forget about this common culture, common language, common religion, and common political aspiration. Instead of that, we should promote value sharing. As far as value sharing is concerned, why not these people of the region should get economic justice, social justice, and political justice? After getting all this, basically people should want to be the nationality of that particular this country. Otherwise, indifference regarding this value sharing and others, it should not be possible at all, and far lagging behind more and more regarding these ideas and others. But as far as our discussion is concerned, why today India is talking about the crumbling situation of our education system? That is because of imposition of these other language to each of the communities of the others. I think, yes, we should say, advocate also said that it is necessity to learn English, because English has hold this information, then ideas and all the resources everything from art to human. But Hindi can't give it. Hindi didn't have nothing. They have just like our Manipuris, this novel and this literature and the others, not scientific, plenty of books is there. But if we confine to Hindi, I think we didn't have anything. But my views is that so long as when we are very much associated with the study by our local language, that means it should make more and more these values to the people that we have very much rich heritage, rich culture, and very much this powerful language and others. So this enforce of this imposition of this language above the English, because of this colonial interpretation of this education, we are suffering a lot more than 200 years. Above this also, now the same thing that is going on by Hindi, see the fate of the people of Northeast, who are very much distinctive and very different from regarding the tradition, culture, race from mainland India. That's the point. So my humble submission is that our authority, all the Northeast state, they should make reasonable restraint to the union government in order to protect our this language. Otherwise, it seems to be just like inviting a more political chaosness in the Northeast.
Political chaosness, yes, political turmoil may take place if the announcement or if the move goes ahead. That's what we are feeling. We are very concerned about the fallout, because a lot of students union, a lot of civil society organization, even outlaw outfit have started reacting it. That is about this state, but we do also have political parties, the coalition partner of the current BJP-led government here in Manipur. The Naga People's Front has also reacted and opposes the imposition of Hindi. Now my question to all of you is, what can be the way forward? What can we do so as to protect our identity, our language, our culture, and also accept the kind of integration narrative being propagated from the center government? My question first is to Tamo Jr. What do you think is the way forward from here? Because we don't want any turmoil because of this imposition here because we have blanket ban on using Hindi in entertainment arena. So this could bring a very unwanted situation. So what do you suggest?
Yeah, President, before answering your question, let me just clarify on 2-3 points raised by Tamo and Babloo. Well, I would not go to the extent of calling it a cultural imperialism. One, because it is not Northeast specific step. Eventually, whatever announcement was made was seemingly based on what has been consented to or agreed by the respective H states. One. Second is that does the announcement degrade our education system or our language and dialects by giving more importance to Hindi and less importance to our dialects and the language? To me, the answer is no, because it is status quo vis-a-vis our language and dialects. To that extent, I would not call it cultural imperialism. Second is that similar steps also is sought to be taken vis-a-vis other states also. So it's a part of a broader political and ideological narrative of the present dispensation. So to that extent, I would not call it cultural dispensation. But yes, our government should have been consulted better, or if at all our government has given consent to it, then our government should have conducted a more wider range of discussion with our CSO. Now, second, our CEOs are, to my opinion, very unpredictable, and a selective approach is little abominable. Like say now that in SUS corp Hindi till 10th standard, It's not a question of a CSOs going to the government with a begging ball. Something has been done. Try to do something to undo it. How do you undo it? To go to the government. It's not about. It's not that you are. Of course, when you meet political appointees or the higher ups, there has to be some process. It was in that context that I said get an appointment, and there's no reason for the higher ups to say no to the appointment. Seeking appointment. That's the second part.
Okay, but Tamudu, I want you to cut short because we are short of time. Yes.
Just two sentences.
Okay.
On the way forward, I think the CSOs have a major role to make the government and the people sensitive to the issue of language, the importance of imparting our dialects and education in dialects and language in a more serious manner. Now, I also echo what Dhanabir has just said, that language is not language as such. It has a lot of folklore. It has a lot of mythical legends behind it. The way we describe things, it has got a lot of meanings embedded into it. So that's the beautiful part about language and dialects. It's more about not about the expression. It's not only a means of expression. It has got within itself embedded a lot of our historical legends. Our what do you say that our folklore. Mythological figures, the way we express it, just got a lot of meaning. So we should pass on it. And yes, we do have a challenge before us, and we should face it together. And the CSOs, according to me, have a major role. And I also said it in my last discussion with Kishorchandra that somehow our CSOs are more concerned with timing our Thaibal Chungma timings, and then which singers on even singers also what to sing, when to sing, and where to sing.
Okay.
Minor issues, of course. I'm not saying that they're irrelevant, but get to the broader picture. Address corruption. Address our culture. When you have our.
So you're pointing that CSO has a big role.
When you feel that there is a challenge to our heritage, raise the issue. Don't go for the short-term gains. Look for the long-term one.
Fine.
And then stay with it.
Got your point. Yeah. Got your point. Yes, Tamu Babloo. Yes. What do you think should be done to avoid any unwanted turmoil here in this region?
KC, now that the declaration has been made, as I have told you, if there is a two-way flow, if all the Hindi-speaking people in this country agree to learn a language that is from the Dravidian origin or the Tibeto-Burman or the Austro-Asiatic, then I call this process an integration process.
Okay.
If it is a one-way traffic where you are trying to impose your own prejudice and culture and language to the rest of the country, it is cultural imperialism per se.
Okay.
There's no debate about it. There's no concern about it. Every language is precious because it is a particular way of understanding and interpreting the world. The whole world is now trying to preserve even the smallest language.
Exactly.
So the respect for each and every language as equals, no matter how many people speak, no matter how many books are written, is something that I wish this present government also understand. That is the modern understanding of how languages are. Like, we are losing gene pools. There are concerted effort by the UN agencies, including UNESCO, to preserve the dying languages. We are reversing history when we are trying to impose language on a particular group of people, particularly from the Northeast people who are suffering from all kinds of vulnerability of the population getting smaller and smaller, those who are speaking. So my humble suggestion to the Honorable Home Minister is to please withdraw this as soon as possible, have a wider consultation with the civil society concerned, with the ethnic communities here, and see how should we try and preserve their language. We have to respect diversity if this country has to endure. Otherwise, this kind of very half-baked policies, no matter whether they are hand-picked leaders are agreeing or not, will be detrimental to the unity and integrity of this country in the long run. So it is better that wisdom dawns now before it is too late.
Okay, one last comment from Tamo Dhanabir as well. What do you think should the government do? Should the government intervene and issue a statement, at least for the time being?
No. My view is that, I firmly believe that this is the starting of the union government to make such a very process of forced assimilation. It should be continuing. It should be continuing.
Okay.
If we want to save India, if we want to have national integration, there should be meaningful federalism. Otherwise, such type of assimilation is going on, yes, how we can remain silent, how the people of Northeast could be the silent spectator. They have to understand this. What will be the policy formulation, what be the policy implementation, they have to see the voice of the people.
Exactly.
And as far as education is concerned, it is very important.
Okay.
This is a highly socializing agency with the help of this, whole the development of this particular region or these people, it should be very much related with that, But while they are taking very easily, to have such a very decision regarding imposition of the this compulsory Hindi to class 9 and 10, though we are studying up to class 8, we know. But why they are imposing this? This is the voice of the people, nowadays. See, reaction coming from Meghalaya, even in Manipur, Nagaland, say coalition partner NPF also reacted this.
Yes.
So my humble suggestion is that, as I said, reasonable restraint should be done by our these ruling elites and our rulers,
Exactly. This is a very sensitive issue because we love ourselves, we love our identity, we love ourselves, we love our culture. Although I believe that there is a lot more to discuss on this very particular topic, but as the time is running out for today, I'm signing out. Thank you to all the panelists for your inputs, for your time. Thank you so very much once again. And this is just a small reminder to our viewers that Elite TV is conducting this open debate in English, especially every Monday, just to make sure that our voices are reached to the people concerned. Our voices are not confined to within the boundary of the state, and that is the reason why Elite TV has started this discussion in English. Thank you so very much to all our viewers once again. Good night.
Washing machine, fridge, smart TV, air conditioner, kitchen items, amadi makal khudingmakki home appliances kidamak hoina waningai lekre. Laisampat Kunchen Hazari Lekai Dalaiba, Mezo Hub Impalna, Ahongo Mamalda, item khudingmakki up to 50% discount offer tizari. Wedding set unalong matamdasu special oiba discount kayasu hamzari. Interest amatta yaudena 0% EMI loan ni kudong sabasu thamjari. Kudong sabasi mangan biraganu ngasi maklengsin birau Mezo Hub Impal Laisampat Kunchen Hazari Lekai.